We're already recording?
How about those LA riots?
There's riots? What's going on? Something going on in LA? You might have to have the kid
You can smell it.
put this in a cup, give me a straw so I can have my icy.
Just send it.
No, it'll get all over everything, and you know how John is about all over everything. It was terrible doing the casting couch with him. He'd be all booty busted when shit would go flying everywhere. See, already. I already got some on the table.
Now we're going to have ants.
Yeah, that's how you get ants. That's exactly what he'd say back then, too. He'd be like, now we're going to have ants.
All right, so...
we're already recording?
How about those LA riots?
There's riots? What's going on? Something going on in LA?
Yeah.
Something new going on in LA.
Yes.
There is. What's
Currently,
new?
right now. So the ice raids, you actually know what's going on, right? You're just fucking around. All right, so the ice raids, the theory is, and what actually seems to be happening, and you never see an aerial view of this, so we don't know how many blocks this is really contained to, right? You have this perception that it's happening all over downtown Los Angeles, but really it's probably 2 city blocks or wherever.
Yeah, it's
so they're confined.
Sectionalized.
They're pouring a bunch of law enforcement in there, and everybody is protesting and taking pictures and getting pepperballed and talking shit to law enforcement. Meanwhile, all of the outlying towns,
ICE is raiding all those.
towns, fucking trucks are coming in, contracting companies, dudes like jump out teams are coming in and just fucking pulling everybody in. If you're brown, you're fucking down. They're fucking pulling them, running them, and locking them up.
That's probably not true.
Okay.
You have to remember that.
You think they are going after just violent criminals?
Oh no. We're going after anybody who's here in the country illegally. The problem for most of the illegal immigrants is the Democratic Party. That's the biggest problem for the illegal immigrant community, because what the Democratic Party did was they ensured that illegal immigrants were getting illegal benefits during Biden's administration. All of that's trackable. So like if you came across the border and they gave you a fucking cell phone, unfortunately, that's public information for anybody in the federal justice system, so they can go after that. If you're getting Medicare, that's public information. They can go like it.
All those $20,000 debit cards.
It was harder. The reality is, it was harder for, if you go back, you go back 20 years, or even 15 years, when the Democrats had a completely different stand on illegal immigration. It was harder for ICE to get people who didn't want to be got, right? It was harder for them they would literally have to do investigations. They don't have to do that anymore, because again, the social media and the algorithm has allowed them to, now it's just a database search to find out who's here illegally, how long they've been here illegally, and they can just go around and roll them up.
Where those towers?
It's like, I mean, the reality is, the things that are going on in LA have nothing to do with ICE raids. No different than, I don't know if you saw that thing. It was either Chicago or New York, where it was the pizza place with the best tacos in all of wherever, and they started attacking those cops that were going to do a search warrant and a raid on a fucking drug dealer that had nothing to do with ICE. Those people in fucking California, in LA, they have no idea why they're out there doing what they're doing.
So they interviewed, there's a white kid that was out there amongst all of them interviewing, and that was the general answer was, I don't know why I'm out here. And the dude's like, I'm out here because she's out here.
Yeah.
Like anybody that was out there that was white, they're like, I don't know why I'm here.
You have to understand that there are certain places in the United States that have been...
It's mob mentality.
Well, they've been economically and socially depressed by the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is more concerned with having slaves than they are having constitutionally law-abiding citizens that have been depressed by that. And those areas, the reality is, those areas are always waiting for a reason to pop off. They're always, the heat is always on. This is July, we're going into the summer months. That's what they do in the summer months. It's always in the summer when this shit is happening. So it's just, again, they don't know why they're doing it. They're just doing it because that's what the group is doing. That's the group think going on. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, they the first vehicles they blew up were fucking autonomous cars. They don't
Right.
know why. What does that have to do with ICE?
So is it escalating?
I don't think so.
Right on day one, you saw all the cinder blocks off the bridges. They smashed up fucking 20 vehicles in a row. You saw the guy. They have these low water areas, right? So they've put all this rock in and they poured concrete. Guys are chipping out.
Well,
They have these perfect softballs, and the dude in the motorcycle helmet broke.
Those rocks were in place to keep skateboarders out.
Yeah,
So
and
again,
they 10 of them went through cop windows and just construction truck windows and stuff. So
everybody's happy. Like the reality is everybody's happy. Everybody's happy.
explain.
Well, the rioters get to steal fucking $2 fucking teddy bears out of CVS. The cops.
Well, they're definitely robbing the Nike store.
Yeah, the cops get to. Well, it's actually interesting if you pay attention to what's going on now. The individuals, for example, if you compare the 92 riots to, or you compare the 62 riot or the 92 riot compared to this riot, completely different atmosphere. This atmosphere is more like a little affair and less like a riot, because you have a different group of people who is orchestrating and doing this. These are all woke, libtards who are out there trying to push an agenda that nobody supports. Like the Mexican community doesn't support this. They're not supporting this. They want illegals out of their communities just as much as we do. So it's a totally different thing. So if you can watch, you can see some of the videos. I saw a video yesterday of again, it was a dude running out of fucking CVS and he had one of those big teddy bears and he's shaking it like he just won something, right? You just committed a felony for a fucking $10 teddy bear. I mean
On camera.
It's probably a $32 teddy bear, but again, there's nothing of good that comes of that. And then I saw another place where it was an employee filming, and all these people just come tearing in, a lot of them white guys, and they attack the toy section, like they're just stealing toys. It's just a different. This is like a woke tantrum and less of a real organized operation like it was in 92.
So it sounds like that's the organic. The guys doing it on their own, just target of opportunity.
Oh, Jesus, this is never gonna open.
But there's piles of bricks being dropped off. They've traced money back to Act Blue. Apparently, Sissy or Chrissy Walton, the owner of Walmart's, is funded a bunch of this. They just keep pulling the thread and finding chasing the money trail.
Yeah.
What do you need? What's going on?
Give me a piece of toilet paper there, kid. John, you sit. Yeah. So you got outside people that are like the Walton thing. I don't think she's funding anything. But that doesn't mean that she's not buying pallets of water and pallets of bricks, and like there was it's on video where the black SUV rolls up and they're handing out riot masks to all these people, and that vehicle was traced back to the Waltons. I think they're supporting it. Well, how would this be sound? It's more of an organic support because she's a fucking libtard than it is like actual support.
Well, yeah, and Walmart's super mad at Trump, saying eat the tariffs, eat your portion, don't raise the prices. So they're super ass hurt about that. He came out and said tariffs have not been in effect, no prices have been raised, yet Walmart across the board has raised all their prices.
Yeah, they're going to take advantage of any opportunity to make more money because the Walmarts are the Walmart family is disgustingly rich.
And they really are the only game in town, right? Walmart comes into a town
and they
puts
all the
everything out of
infrastructure,
business. Yeah, I think you're going to find, and I haven't looked at this, but I bet you're going to find that Walmart actually owns Dollar General because they do the same thing. It's the exact same game plan,
I don't know
even worse.
I don't know if Walmart could handle Dollar General. That's a big operation. There's Dollar Generals even in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Dude, yeah, we have $5 Generals within 15 minutes of here.
So I don't think the way I look at it is if you are actually funding rioters, then there can be a criminal conspiracy charge against you. That you're creating that conspiracy. So I don't think I don't believe that anybody's doing it directly. I know that the conspiracy theory would be George Soros is paying for all this, and George Soros is paying rioters.
Well, it actually is coming from the George Soros Foundation.
There may be, again though, it's how it's funded, right? It's how that funding works. If I buy pallets of bricks and put them on the corners of properties that I own or don't own, right? I'm not throwing the bricks.
Right.
I'm just stacking bricks for storage until I move them somewhere else, right?
But how many times is this going to happen to the point where it's not just a coincidence anymore? Because it's happened.
Here's the thing. It's just like what's going on in LA. The rioters are only doing what they know they can get away with. So they know that they can, like initially when LAPD was going out there and the rioters were pushing the LAPD cops back, they knew that they could get away with that because the administration from the mayor all the way up to the governor, would not support LAPD officers or sheriffs or anyone using violence against the protesters in order to quell whatever was going on. They knew that. That is the only reason why LAPD, CHP, that's the only reason why those officers can get overrun in any situation. Remember, they're fucking armed. And if you're throwing a rock at me, that's intent.
Yeah, deadly force.
So, again, it's the only reason why any of this is happening is because no one's willing to spank the spoiled child. Once they spank them, all this would end. And it will end.
Okay, so 500, and then I've heard 700 National Guards in place, right? He's
National
bumped it
Guards
to 2,500. And when questioned, he said it's a mostly peaceful military action. If you spit on us, we're going to hit you harder than you've ever been hit. That's what Trump said. You spit on a National Guard or a Marine, we are going to crush you. Those were Trump's words, right?
The reality of what nobody's paying attention to is...
Oh, I got a bunch of shit nobody's paying attention to.
But the reality of what nobody's paying attention to when we talk about military boots on the ground. What military boots on the ground does for LAPD or whatever locale.
Frees them up to do their job.
It now frees them up to do their job. So instead of hiding under a bridge because people are throwing rocks at them, they can now arrest the people who are throwing rocks because there's going to be a Marine or a soldier standing on a street corner somewhere. And again, with the current president and the current Secretary of Defense, I wouldn't want to test that.
They got bullets?
I would.
Because that's what happened last time, right? National Guard rolled in, and then it became public knowledge that they did not have ammunition.
I would assume. No, you know what? This is the way I would play it out. I would say that unfortunately, the National Guard soldiers probably don't have bullets. They probably weren't issued bullets. Because again, it becomes a logistical thing. It becomes a logistical thing from the aspect of they would have to get those out of the California National Guard Armory or depot. So it becomes a logistical thing. It's easy to deploy National Guard soldiers. It's a little bit different when you're talking about ammunition. The Marines are going to come with ammo because they've already discussed rules of engagement.
Are the Marines going to hand ammunition to the National Guard?
No, they won't do that.
When do you think you're going to see the first shots fired?
Let me reverse. I'm not going to say that they won't do that. If it is required, because again, it's different today than it was in 92. In 92, the National Guard still belonged to the state of California. All after the global war on terror, all National Guard units have been federalized.
Well, you see, Newsom filed a lawsuit.
Yeah, fuck
to
Newsom.
Take control of the National Guard.
He can't.
It was voted. It was struck down by the court yesterday. They said Trump is in the right. He has control of the National Guard.
Well, again, what Gavin Newsom? I mean, I don't want to say Gavin Newsom, but he's part of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party voted to have fucking National Guard troops federalized.
Did you see that Gavin Newsom was telling head of ICE, come get me, tough guy. Come get me. Come arrest me. Come arrest me. Did you see the Congresswoman, somebody associated somehow with Congress, went on national television or social media and said, my mother is an illegal alien. Are you going to arrest my mother? I'll bet you they do. I'll bet you they fucking do come arrest her mother.
Well, again,
did you see the JAG officer?
The problem is this. The problem is this. Okay? If I tell you that the rules of law now stand, okay, you have to understand, most people don't understand, well, you do need to understand this, is the Democratic Party for the last 8 years or last 4 years under Joe Biden.
It's not enforced the laws.
They just haven't enforced the laws. It does not mean that law does not still stand on the books. And so, if I tell you, if I'm like, hey, this is the law, here's the law, we are now enforcing this law, and then you fucking challenge me by saying, are you going to come arrest my mother, who's here illegally? I have to. I now have to arrest your mother. That's your goddamn fault. That's not Holman's fault. You could have kept that shit a secret.
Did you see the Navy JAG officer? Did you see this? Navy JAG officer comes out and he says, "Oh, we can take care. I didn't sign up for this. This is I'm not supporting basically a treasonous president, and I signed up to defend the rights of the people, basically." And he said, "We can solve this if we just if we're willing to, right? We just need to have friendly fire accidents with live ammunition."
I mean, he should. I'm assuming
duty.
He should have been arrested.
I don't know that he has been. I saw this morning at about 5 o'clock.
I'm sure.
Another one, National Guard.
The other
girl.
thing too, but the other thing too is you have to be careful because of the climate that we live in today with social media. That may not even have been true.
So,
like, he may not have even been legit.
Got it. Okay, so apparently this one was. There's a National Guard.
I've seen
saying she's in the Army. Turns out she was separated from the Army in 2020. She puts the uniform on and then starts, her mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, I've seen that, and on that one, I know you're like, read the comments. I read the comments, and there was a lot of guys that were pointing out inconsistencies in her uniform, like, we don't do that anymore, blah, blah, blah. She can't be active duty. So I just assume that, again, disingenuous characters. If you are saying, just use a firefighter. If you're a firefighter and you are saying things publicly against the fire department, that holds more credit, that holds more credo with me, really, in the respect department. I may disagree completely with you, but if there's a possibility that you're going to lose your job over what you're saying,
right,
then what you're saying means more to me, right? That's just like these. You're going to see. I've seen a lot of videos of these kids that are getting popped with these rubber bullets, and they're acting surprised, like they're really like, I didn't think they would do that. Yeah. I didn't. That's because you're a fucking woke moron and you don't understand how the world really
works. So while we're
works.
on that, like I had said earlier, I'm like, they must have changed the rubber bullets because they used to have to skip those because a rubber bullet will actually kill you. And you said, well, a lot of those aren't rubber bullets. It's actually pepper balls that they're shooting. Like that chick that got shot directly, because you saw the dude with the rifle. Uh-huh. Like that, whoever that National Guard or cop or whatever shot that Australian reporter right in the leg, like straight line of sight, fucking looks like she's about 20 feet away. Rubber bullet would have dropped that bitch to the ground. Yeah,
they're using a combination of less than lethal. Most of your sheriff guys, most of your like highway patrol, a lot of those guys are going to be using a pepper ball or a paintball of some sort, right? They're using some sort of paint device because it became, I don't know if you remember this, but in the early 2000s, it became very popular to use in jails for riots, where it basically what they did was they said, rubber bullets are too dangerous. You can kill people with rubber bullets. But hey, the kids all play with these paintball guns. Why don't we just use paintball guns? Well, the difference is when a kid uses a paintball gun, the first thing that happens when he walks into a park is they check the velocity of that paintball gun, and they can't go over 350 feet per second. The law enforcement doesn't. That's why law enforcement doesn't have that mandate, and that's why when you see these kids take their shirts off, they got bruises that are just huge because they're probably 500 feet per second paintballs, and that's gonna fuck you up. With the rubber bullets, though, you still have to. You're not supposed to direct fire rubber bullets. And I have actually seen the video of the marshals. I've seen 2 videos of the marshals, and it may have been LAPD firing rubber bullets, and they are shooting at the ground and deflecting them up into the crowd. So I think there's two different systems.
Still fucking lose your eye. You get hit with that fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, again, there's only one reason why you get hit with a rubber bullet.
And Yeager used to point out to me, it's not less than lethal. It's less lethal.
Yeah. Well, give a good example is the Israelis. For the longest time, the Israelis used 22 rifle as less lethal, and they would shoot dudes in the legs with the rifle and be like, "We didn't kill him." That's the truth. It's less lethal. It's less lethal than the 308 rifle. So, again, it's one of those things that once law enforcement, it's not like you're not going to see a single video, not a single documented video proof that law enforcement shows up to a peaceful protest of a bunch of moms walking down the street with their flags saying ban Trump, and they attack the protest.
So did you see Maxine Waters this morning?
And I try not to pay attention to anything.
I was on the ground. Those were peaceful protests.
She's a crooked.
And then they just showed up and started shooting. There was no violence. You guys are being misled by media.
That does never happen. That does not happen. There is no law enforcement agency out, especially in California. They are all afraid of conducting operations in the way they should be conducted. So, millions of dollars of property gets destroyed before law enforcement ever attempts to quell any of that stuff. So, I look at it this way. I don't care if the reality is when the first canister of tear gas goes off, or the one protester on the side throws a rock through a window. If you're a peaceful protester,
you better not be in that crowd.
You don't immediately beat the fuck out of the guy who's trying to change the rhythm of what your protest is, or you don't go home. No sympathy for you.
So how do you think it should be handled?
How do I think it should be handled?
Because you said because they're not handling how it should be. How should it be?
Well, I think somebody like, because the problem, he's San Bernardino. You need real leadership. You need real leadership to go in there and be like,
smoke them.
Close it down. We're done. They don't have to kill anybody.
How many is satisfactory for being killed though? How many?
They just have to. Everybody carrying a Mexican flag. They just have to
kill everybody with a Mexican flag.
Enforce the law. I didn't say that. Did I say that?
I didn't say that. I just heard you say.
All they have to do is enforce the law.
It's a trip. All these guys that don't want to be in Mexico sure are fucking proud of that Mexican flag in the United States here.
I mean, I literally would. This is,
if you're here illegally, you probably shouldn't be on fucking national television.
If I was in 2-7, I would stand my marching line up, and we would move forward, and then I would tell my fucking Spartans, I would be like, hey, you see that guy with the Mexican flag? That's who we're getting. Every single person that had a Mexican flag, I would drag them into the back and throw them in a paddy wagon. I wouldn't care, white, brown, black, Asian. Every single person that's flying that flag in the paddy wagon, you get the shit beat out of you because you resist. That's your fault. In the paddy wagon, let law enforcement deal with you. Even if they just let them all go, they're gonna have to pay for. They're gonna have to pay for doing that stupid shit. You either want it. You're not showing me that you want to be an American.
I 100% agree.
The reality is, these protests would be a lot different.
You would think that they needed to be to work during these days. You would think that they would probably be fired for not showing up to work multiple days.
Actually, they're required to be out there, John. The Craigslist ad said
$1,600. Did you see it? Yeah, I saw it. I think we had a kid here quit because it's riot season. What'd I tell you? I go, why is Sprinkles not at work? And you're like, why? I go, because riot season just started.
Hey, if you need a professional rioter, guys, please send me the first check and I'll be on my way. Yeah, it's just dumb. But again, imagine if those people would have marched down, doesn't matter what street, or even, because they were attacking the ICE building. Imagine how different it would have been is if they would have surrounded that building and everybody would have been holding an American flag. How much different the tone would be.
It wouldn't have happened. People holding American flags aren't going to surround the fucking building.
But what I'm saying, how much different would the tone be?
And
All
how many
you're
of these
doing-
guys are actually plants?
All you're doing, you never know. Like you don't know that, because again, we want to cover our faces. But I think again, it's a lot of woke kids living in their basement, eating peanut butter and jellies that their moms bring them.
And this is better than four
And
of
this
them
is-
sitting
yeah.
there looking at each other masturbate on
And
the
they're
couch.
like, you know what'd be cool? We should get
We should go break some windows.
We should get our masks on and go break some windows. That's all it is.
We can steal hot dogs. So how long until one of these fools gets smoked?
Well, I heard
There was gunshots last night.
I heard today
I saw
that-
footage of dudes fucking going, like just shooting.
Yeah,
like tons.
I heard today that that a couple of LAPD officers were shot at by shotguns, no injuries, and then I saw a video of a guy on a corner shooting a pistol,
2 of them.
but was that this year? Was that last year? Was that 20 years ago?
Is it real?
Who knows? We'll see when somebody actually.
So are you celebrating No King Day?
What's No King Day?
It also happens to be Trump's birthday, the Army's birthday. Several other things are happening. I believe it's Saturday, right? But the rioters are calling it No King's Day, meaning Trump can't be the king.
Well, he's not the king.
And there was some shit popping off last night in Atlanta and Chicago also.
If he was the king, then you wouldn't be able to say it.
Well, we're doing embroidery for Trump's birthday that says Trump 2028.
Trump 20. That's good.
We got people that like it are going to love it, and the people that hate it are going to talk about it.
Yeah, that's good. 2028. I like it.
We're also doing Army's birthday. It's going to be the actual Army guys embroidered. So it's got the mortar guy.
Yeah.
It's got the bazooka guy, and it's got the third dude. And then we're sending out sets of actual Army men and
Nice.
a pound of Army Man gummy bears with
That would
them.
be cool.
Yeah.
And there should be a little card in there that says. There should be a little card in there that says.
Vote Trump 28.
No, it should say, "Real men join the Marines." Yeah. So I don't know, because again, I look at the problem is when you go back to '92, the riots in '92, it was much more organized and much more.
Organized on which side?
On the rioter side, it was much more organized and much more militant than the current.
Well, I think those were real
rioters.
gangsters. Some
Well,
of
that's what I'm saying. It was a better it was a better organization. They had specific missions when they were going out and hitting specific targets and stuff. Where this is very decentralized, and this is more of a bit of a mob mentality, and you have a bunch of woke actors inside there. So I think it is actually from a law enforcement military perspective that while this would be really easy to stop, I think, like if they really just
How would you do it?
the way you stop any riot, you just corner them, break them down, and start putting them in fucking buses and send them to jail.
Imagine the data collection that's happening
Yeah.
right now.
So, but I do believe because of the type of individuals out there, because, the reality is Democrats have the highest amount of mental illness, that you have a higher likelihood that there's going to be more gunplay this time than there was in 92. Like there was not like, once we got on the ground in 92, there wasn't a single moment where I thought, I take it back. There was the car incident where I thought two of my Marines were going to kill a bunch of fucking Bloods, right? Crips. The two of my Marines were going to kill a bunch of Crips, but never was
over
I like
a fucking Cheez-It cracker.
Yeah, over a fucking
saltine cracker.
But never was I out there thinking, oh, these guys, because Watts was right across the street where they were going to be like, they're going to start shooting at us. As a matter of fact, one of our Marines was in a ride along at Watts. He wasn't in a ride along, but they basically stationed police cars at the front and the back of
the apartment complex.
The apartment complex, so you could, anybody coming or going would be rousted.
Belt fed.
And no belt fed. They put Marines in those cars, and they didn't have a single. He's like, nothing. Nobody came out. Nobody was nothing. We didn't do shit. The day they left, so the day the day we pulled out, those cop cars got fired up. They fired on them.
Wasn't there an incident with a belt fed?
Yeah, that's No, that's different. So the belt fed was a saw, and it was. Oh man, I'm probably not supposed to say that because they lied, told everybody it was. They had a checkpoint. Obviously, at night the streets were closed, and so they had this checkpoint, and this guy in his E28 ran through the checkpoint. So burst through the checkpoint. Now, at that time, the Marines had ammo.
Was it Tom Selleck?
No, it definitely wasn't Tom Selleck.
Did he have a mustache?
But at that time, the Marines had ammo, but
Because back in those days, white guys still owned Trans Ams. Now all the Trans Ams are on the fucking Indian reservations.
this is true on blocks.
On blocks. Next to the washer and dryer on the front porch.
But he ran the checkpoint because, again, they had the ammo, but nobody was loaded. Now, you would have made a serious mistake if you would have come across Stapleton 19 streets because we were fucking locked and loaded. Anyways, they ran the checkpoint, and the guy in the car turned around and tried to go back through, and Saw Gunner stitched him up, killed him.
Was he in trouble?
Who? No.
The Saw Gunner?
Uh-uh.
Did he think he was in trouble for a second? Because he hadn't been in combat, right? That's probably the first fucking...
I doubt he thought he was in trouble. I am sure... Because, again, I wasn't at that checkpoint when that happened, but I am sure that he received an order to do it. I am
Did
sure
he receive a medal?
that somebody... I don't know.
Did he get a fucking award for it?
I mean, what they did, they definitely covered it up.
Did he get to put some shit on his uniform
I'm sure.
after that?
I mean, the reality is, I am sure that everybody, they probably made him a patch and all kinds of shit because that would have been celebrated.
So what about the apartment complex that got shot at?
The apartment complex was, again, we put 2 Marines. At that time, they were putting 2 Marines in every police car. And so they get these police officers get I don't remember if it was a domestic abuse because there was nobody else there, but they get a disturbance.
I thought he was supposed to be roughing his girlfriend.
They get a disturbance call, right? They get a call for service, and they go. The cars are all parked in front of this. It was a condo, and bad guy lived on the second floor, and so they park right in front of the place. And so you've got 3 police cars. So that's 6 Marines, right? So there's 6 Marines with these police cars.
6 M16s.
And so they all the Marines just get out of the car and they're like hanging out. And 2 of the officers go up to the door and knock on the door. When they knock on the door, assailant responds with a shotgun blast.
Bam!
Through the door. Peppers up one of the officers really good. I think arm and leg maybe. And the other officer, they fall down and they're on the landing. And so again, this is an example of terminology not crossing over well, because he says something that doesn't mean the same thing in law enforcement that it does for the military. And so now everybody's heightened alert. You got all these Marines across the fucking car, with their rifles, and officer, because he heard gunshots, he knows he's got officers down. I don't know if there was a call on the radio or what. He's like, cover me, and takes off running towards the door.
So they suppressive fire.
So when you tell a military person cover me, that means shoot your rifle to keep the enemy from being able to engage me. Right? In law enforcement, that's not what it means. It just means, point your gun at something.
Point your gun in the general direction.
Yeah, point your gun in the general direction. So
unless it's an acorn.
So they let loose on this second-story apartment. Now, fortunately for this assailant, because he was in a second-story apartment, the angle's wrong, right? So he's in the back, and they're shooting up. So they literally just blow the shit out of the front of his condo, and all the bullets are going through the roof, right? Who knows where those bullets went?
I was just going to say.
Who knows? But all those bullets are just going, up at an angle. Old boy dives behind his couch because, again, they fire 200 rounds. If you
can see some daylight.
If you're a bad guy and that happens immediately,
something has changed.
The weather has changed. You don't understand what's going on. He literally got on the phone immediately, called 911, and surrendered over the phone.
The fact that he went to gun so fast, that's probably not the first time he had been shot at.
Yeah, he immediately called 911 and surrendered himself and was not injured at all from the hail of bullets the Marines put on him.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. How long until that happens in this engagement?
It just depends. Again, like I said,
Let's say we're at day 3 right now, right? Because they've been saying they're sending the Marines. There was already Marines there. There was 500 Marines sequestered wherever.
yeah, they're
So, what in your deployment, they sent you to Los Alamitos,
El Toro
El Toro. How long were you at El Toro?
week.
So right now we're probably still we got the Marines kind of in the general area, in the direction of, but still.
Well, it's what they do.
Getting pissed off that they're fucking sitting around doing bullshit.
Again, I guarantee you that the president's brief, the Secretary of Defense's brief, that everybody's like, this could get real ugly real fast. This could get real ugly real fast. So you have to accept the optics of what could possibly happen. And so it's what they're doing is they're using it as a threat, right? We're sending in the Marines. And so they'll pack all those guys up and they'll move them to a deployment spot that's close enough to where they can deploy if necessary. And what they're hoping, I guarantee you, what Secretary of Defense and the President's hoping is the threat of the Marine Corps coming in or more forces coming in is enough to get people to be like, maybe I should go home. And that's why they're giving them that space and time. It also is giving, like, the governor and the mayor space and time to fix this before it becomes worse, okay? Because, again, the Marines may show up. The Marines may show up on every corner and nothing happen. But the Marines may show up on every corner and MS-13 decides this is the day they want to go to war. The optics of Marines going to war in fucking Los Angeles, not good. Doesn't matter who fires the first shot, who fires the last shot, not good.
How will the war go?
Oh, it'll go very bad for MS-13. But it'll go very, the reality is
there's going to be collateral damage.
It'll go bad for Los Angeles.
Is it going to look like Battlefield LA?
No, man, that was way cooler. It'll go bad for Los Angeles, which in turn, the reality is, even if the Marine Corps, even if the Marines are 100% on par with the rules of engagement, 100% within those rules, and they don't step over any boundary lines, and they handle this whole thing with kid gloves. It's not a win in the president's column. It's not. It's a loss. It's a loss in the column if Marines go to guns in fucking Los Angeles. It won't be considered a win in the end. It'll be considered a loss.
Have you seen the massive parade and the heavy equipment and all the missiles and shit that are being brought into Washington, D.C.? You know what it is?
Yeah, he's trying to celebrate the 4th of July.
He's doing a parade like all the other countries do parades.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to be out there doing all kinds of crazy kung fu and shit.
I know.
Like they're bringing in such heavy equipment that it's going to take like 2 months to fix the roadways.
Maybe
from all this shit.
That was the first time he did this with the M1 when he wanted M1 Abrams. That was the first complaint. Is it's going to ruin the roads.
He's like, we'll fix them.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. He's the president.
Should have had better concrete.
Yeah.
Now we'll do the Autobahn.
If he wants to do it,
it's the best. Believe it.
I think it's a waste of resources, but whatever.
So what's not being looked at while all this shit, everything's on LA right now. Nothing else is being paid attention to. You know, some other things going on. When Japan had that whole fucking all their ships moving, right? Mm-hmm. Their carrier group. How many ships is in a carrier group?
It just depends on it just depends on how they
like right now. What do you think a carrier? Like just wild guess. What would a carrier
group could be? Let me think. Is it 4 destroyers? I mean, 20 ships.
You know, we just commissioned 2 more destroyers.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything about it.
Did they sink when they put them in the water? Oh, no, that's just North Korea.
There's 76 ships on the move right now that nobody's talking about. And they're moved further. They have moved further. And I assumed, and I went back and listened twice, and they didn't really say who it was, but it's China. There's 76 ships, Navy vessels, that are further than they've ever been. And they're all military ship to include carriers and other ships.
Do you know where the U.S. Navy goes? Do you know where the U.S. Navy goes? I mean, think about the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, or think about the world, really. Mm-hmm. Do you know where the U.S. Navy goes?
Where?
Everywhere it fucking wants to. Everywhere it wants to. There's nowhere that we don't go where we don't want to. No one can deny it. So what? Who can? You know what? Bring the motherfucking Chinese Navy. Bring the Chinese Navy to San Francisco. Have Fleet Week.
Well, I think he did bring the Chinese to San Francisco.
Let them have Fleet Week. Let them party in San Francisco. I don't give a shit. The thing that people keep talking about is the thing that is completely irrelevant. The Chinese are doing what we did 60 years ago. They're making a navy. Hate to break the news to everybody, but we are really close. We are really close to a naval vessels being obsolete. And it's the U.S. Navy.
I said that last week.
But it's the U.S. Navy that's going to make that happen.
And people are like, no, we have Sea-Wiz. We have Sea-Wiz. Those drones can't touch our ships. We got Sea-Wiz.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we have guys, whether you know this or not, but we have autonomous submarines that are patrolling the fucking Pacific Ocean right now. We have autonomous aircraft that the Navy's getting ready to use.
Are they anti-gravity?
I don't know. They could be. But what I'm saying is the Chinese are doing something that's 50 years. It's 50 years too old, too late. They could go ahead, make 10 aircraft carriers.
You saw the fungus?
They're going to be fucking, yeah.
The 2 Chinese people they arrested, right? You know, it was actually 4 they arrested. And you know when they actually...
There was an American that just got arrested, too.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Same thing.
Do you know this case, when they actually intercepted the fungus, like we think from the reporting, we think
now
some shit showed up right now and we just arrested these 2 people. 18 months ago they've worked this case.
Yeah, probably.
18 months.
Yeah, it's...
So if we caught 4 people... If it's a real thing and not just some bullshit, how much of that shit's actually out there, and what the fuck is it? Are they coming in planting kudzu? Because I see a lot more kudzu now around.
No, I would assume that. What they would be doing is
it's going to fuck up the wheat heads and stuff. It's going to be a fungus.
Well, again,
fucks up our crops.
I would assume that what they would be doing was being, again, understand that the Chinese think in years. They don't think in time frames like we do. They think 5 years down the road. So what you would want to do is you would want to sneak you would want to get that stuff in the country.
That's where those fucking Asian carps came from.
Pre-war or pre anything going on. And so you would have, regular Chinese family doing regular Chinese shit until the war breaks out, and then they start driving around America dropping this fucking shit off so that the wheat crop it doesn't do any good to do it now. Right? It doesn't do any good to do it now. What you would want to do is do it when we were already in conflict, so that you would be on a war footing. You would be fighting the Chinese, and then oh shit, the entire fucking crop for
you've heard of salting.
Collapsed.
You've heard of salting the fields, right?
Yeah, salting the earth.
Who the fuck carried all those barrels of salt? Like what?
Slaves.
That's really what it was. Huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when the emperor wanted to really show his authority, you would salt the earth. Now, it's kind of short-sighted because it doesn't last forever, but you can destroy a place by salting the earth for a while. But that's what they would do. Because the difference, let's just put it this way. The difference between now and then is because we're a global market, because I can get my avocados from fucking Venezuela or wherever the fuck they come from now.
They're horrible.
But what that means because we are able to get food from anywhere in the world, that if the crops fail tomorrow, we don't die. Where back then, if you salted the earth, everybody that lived in that area was dead, because they were counting on that harvest in order to make it through winter. And so that's why you would do it.
Are you up to date on Greta Thunberg?
What, being a Israeli POW?
Okay. So there's a little more to it than that. So when this all started out, right, it's no longer climate change. She's on her super yacht and she's delivering humanitarian aid, right, on her little sailboat. You know that in the port, she was harbored in Malta, out partying or whatever.
I bet it was rough. I bet Malta's rough this time of year.
And 2 bombs went off on the ship and disabled the ship. She says it's Israelis. So she's now on this super barge, some freighter shit, back in action, right? They stopped her, took her into custody, and fucking extradited her to France. So she's in France. She's been released out of France. But wherever that embargo was, she reached there, And the Israelis, or somebody apparently for the Israelis, snatched her ass up, took her into custody, and fucking flew her to France.
I would say this: probably gave her too much. You probably given her too much credit, in the sense of
I'm watching Benny Johnson.
They're stopping all ships that are trying to go through the embargo, and unfortunately
fortunately, they knew who she was, and rather than putting her in a cage.
Fortunately for Greta, because again, she did this on purpose. She made all her statements prior to going into the waters that they're not supposed to be in. So that wasn't a hey, we're going to actually help the Palestinians. That was, hey, Israel, guess who's coming to town? You might want to make me supper because I'm coming. That's all that was. And so they knew. So again, they knew. Okay, she's on this ship. All right, get the kid gloves department out, and they kid gloved her, put her on a plane, and flew her back to France. If it was anybody else, if it was you or me, we'd still be in a fucking Israeli jail somewhere.
We should have thrown him off the fucking ship, at least for a little while.
They, again, they don't want to. They are making waves, but they don't want to make too many waves, right? Because that's just a mentally handicapped white girl. Can't have that. Don't want to bring that down on the.
Have you seen all the Muslim countries calling for action in the United States? All Muslim brothers stand up and retaliate.
Go ahead. I mean,
So do you really think there's nothing to this? This is just some bullshit, and there's not going to be any violence. The Marines aren't going to encounter any action.
I'm not saying. Like I just said, you have a mentally unstable woke crowd that's out there to say that there's not going to be a gunplay
with embedded bad actors.
I do believe that there's more likely to be gunplay now than there was in '92.
You think it's going to spill out of California?
I mean, it has a little bit, but again, very localized. They only burn down their shit. They don't. It's not. These fucking rioters aren't going to get on buses and go to Mississippi. They're not going to get on buses and go to fucking, downtown, wherever. They're going to stay in their area, burn their own shit down because they know that the federal government will rebuild it in a couple of years. And they're not real. Real activists get on the move. You think about 1960s when they were protesting the Vietnam War. They really went to Washington, D.C. They didn't fucking stay at home and be like, down with Trump. So no, I don't. I mean, I think when you think about riots that are going on in Los Angeles, okay, or you think about riots that are going on in New York City, I know Trump is trying to show that he is the president, and he's trying to use his authority and will on everybody. I don't, as president of the United States right now, I wouldn't have sent a single troop.
Well, why? What would you do?
I wouldn't have done nothing.
California
I'd have been like, "You got it, Newsom. You handle it." I would have pulled back. All federal.
Would have been funny if they just had that wall just fucking start going north.
I'd have pulled back all federal officers back to federal property, and then I would have said, maybe I would have put some troops there, but I would have pulled back all federal officers to federal property, and I would have been like, okay, they can burn whatever they want. They touch this building, you fuck them up.
This is just a test of wills, because if Newsom came out tomorrow and was like, I've deleted my tweets. I think that President Trump is the most beautiful man, and we need to sit down and have dinner at the French Laundry, and you don't have to wear a mask during COVID.
He tried to do that.
Newsom?
Yeah, he tried to do that.
He didn't really try.
He went to Washington, had a fucking secret meeting with Donald Trump. He tried to do it. But the problem for Newsom is he's allowed the woke party of the Democratic National Republic Communist Party that it is to get their fingertips in him so much that as soon as they found out, he wasn't mad at what Trump had to say. He wasn't mad at what Trump was negotiating with him. But as soon as they found out that he was talking to Trump, he had to disavow that he was talking to Trump because he was going to lose money.
There was a 16-minute phone call between him and Trump last night.
Yeah, Newsom is a terrible fucking
Are we going to
governor.
find out Newsom's actually in Africa right now? That's where the other bitch was.
Yeah,
right?
it would be
in
funny.
Africa.
It would be funny, but Newsom's a terrible governor. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Well, it's okay because Kamala is going to be the next governor.
No,
You don't think so?
no, I don't think so. Even the Democratic Party doesn't.
Did you hear they're
like Kamala.
talking about running Barack Obama as president again?
Yeah, Barack Obama needs to.
Did you see him say, anybody can live the dream? I was the first Kenyan president of the United States. Did you see him say that?
I didn't see him say that.
Yeah, he fucking said it.
But no, he's not going to run for president. He won't.
He's too old.
No, it's not even that. His wife is currently disowning him. Like his wife is defaming him.
Have you been entertained by any of her podcast?
No, I haven't seen any of it. But his wife is defaming him. His children don't want to hold his last name. He's not running for president.
Well, those aren't his children.
Doesn't matter.
I got you.
Doesn't
I got
matter.
You.
That's that.
At least
He'll
she's not.
get- he'll
At least the other dad's not their mom.
He'll get crucified if he tries to run again. So no, it's not gonna happen.
Okay,
Plus,
so what?
plus again, I don't think that if you're a,
I don't think there's going to be an election.
but I mean, if you're an idiot, and you are still a moderate Democrat and you believe in the ideas of the Ku Klux Klan, because that's what moderate Democrats are, Klan members. But if you're a moderate Democrat and you still believe in the Democratic Party, right? You're not even thinking, let's have Barack run again. You're not even thinking that. Same thing with like Camilla running for governor of California. The Democrats are done with that fucking party. They're done with that lazy part of the party. They're done with it. They have to come back to center. If they don't come back to center, the Democratic Party's over. It should have been over.
Your new Democratic Party is going to be ran by all the rhinos.
It should have been over now because the rhinos are all dying. Like it does.
But if you look at people we had
Pelosi-
hope for, right? Like Massey and Ron Paul. What's not Rand Paul, but Ron Paul, the younger one, right? And there's that whole caucus. They're all from Kentucky, right there.
Yeah.
They're all fucking doing Democratic shit.
Well, I mean, the reality is, so is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a Democrat.
yeah.
Is a Democrat. So, I mean, the reality is the Democratic Party should have been disbanded and not allowed to be a party as soon as the Civil War was over.
So we're seeing all the bread and circuses.
Yeah, we are seeing bread circus.
The real bread and circuses. What are we not paying attention to that is of real concern?
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything on my radar outside of Ukraine is doing everything in its physical power to change the atmosphere and climate of the war in Ukraine to bring in third-party characters into the war to create a actual world war. Russia continues to gain ground every day in Ukraine. They're paying a heavy. The reality is they're paying a heavy toll.
Yeah, Russia
But
hit them
Russia
after that drone
always-
storm with a bunch of ICBMs and shit.
Russia always pays a heavy toll because it's Russia. They don't. They're not. Their strong suit is not tactics. Their strong suit is we're just going to keep hitting this fucking hammer with. We're just going to keep hitting this hammer with people's skulls until the nail goes in. Next, that's how Russia works. So, I don't. Outside of that, I don't. Ukraine wants to sue the United States for not giving them weapons.
In what court?
Yeah. So it's
Like
just,
where is that taking place?
It's completely ignorant. Zelensky really should, and maybe he is. Maybe he is. I don't. Again, I don't know the guy. I only played pool with him once. Zelensky should really be thinking about his exit strategy. That's it. That's all he should be thinking about, and he should be figuring out a way to get Ukraine out of this war without completely losing everything. We keep using our propaganda machine to make people think that they have the upper hand, but they don't. They just don't. They're blowing up strategic assets that don't affect the outcome of the battle on the ground. And if you continue to blow up strategic assets that don't affect the outcome of the battle on the ground, you lose. You just lose. Russia's not like the United States. We continually model our plans against Russia like it's America, where we're like, we'll put restrictions on the goods and their money, and that's going to create popular uprising. And no, all that does is unify Russians. They continue to do these things that they think is going to create popular uprising, but the reality is, when you tell Russians, when you're like, the reason why you can't drink Coca-Cola anymore is because America hates us. It only makes Russians more... The Russian who was just on the street going, oh, I don't care what's going on in Ukraine. He's not going to be like, down with Putin. He's going to be like, fuck America. I'm for Putin. Let's go and kick these motherfuckers' asses in Ukraine. So it's not... It's the opposite effect. Our national strategic idea of the world has been fucked since we've allowed liberal Democrats in the government.
Do you know when the last time the Insurrection Act was used?
It was like 1813 or
1923, I thought.
1920. I don't know, some long time ago. But who cares? A law is a law.
I'm with you.
If you don't, you know what?
So if the Insurrection Act is used, is that martial law just in that area, or is that in the entirety of the United States?
I have no idea. I don't know. I haven't read up on it. But again, it's like the rules that they're using. It's like the laws that they're using against illegal immigrants right now. You know what the Democrats can do, which they have not done? They can literally abolish those laws. What they're saying is the problem with the Democratic Party is what the Democratic Party is doing is it's creating an environment where they say some laws are real and some laws aren't real. But we're not going to tell you which laws are real or which laws are enforceable. We're just going to create this convoluted mess so that people won't really know what they're doing.
Sounds like all federal government.
No, I mean, if at least in the Republican Party, the law's the law.
So the concern is that these laws will be used here against these illegals, but then there will be a precedent for the next administration to use that type of law or that lawfare against citizens that are just doing things they don't like.
Here's the thing.
They're already doing it.
They've always had the capability to do that. And the last administration was doing it all the time. The last administration was the administration who federalized the governments against U.S. citizens. There's not a fucking single reason. You cannot give me a single valid, logical reason why the FBI would be interested in what's going on in a PTA meeting. Not a fucking single reason. Not within their guidelines. The only way that's possible is if the political machine forces the FBI to be involved in things that they have no mandate or jurisdiction in. So it's already been done. And the difference is the difference between like what Trump is doing versus what, like you could say, the next administration is going to go after citizens that they don't like. These aren't citizens. They're not citizens. They're not American citizens. They don't have the protection of the Constitution. They're not citizens. So, again, bye. Bye. If you use whatever means necessary to accomplish the mission.
So when we come back here next week on Wednesday, 7 days from now.
7 days from now.
What do you think will have happened?
Riots will definitely be over.
Over.
Yeah, they'll be over. Be done. It's almost PBJ time right now. Like they almost need to go home, drink their Kool-Aid, have their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, maybe get a couple games of Call of Duty because they've missed it. It's almost done now. I think they'll definitely be over in a week for sure. Done.
And the Marine Corps will be where? Back home, back in 20.
Well, the Marine Corps. When I say over, the Marine Corps, their Marines might be standing on street corners. But the rioting will be done because the minute you put a Marine or a couple of Marines on every fucking corner where these rioters are going, and now the jump out teams can go fucking take down every high risk warrant they've had on the books, the riots are done. Like, I mean, you sent me the video of the what was it, Crip or Blood? Crip. Oh, an OG out on the street talking to these kids, telling them they need to move on.
I found it interesting that he had his face covered.
Well, he probably knew he was being videotaped.
Of course he did, but the people he was talking to didn't have their faces covered.
No, the guy that had the fucking silver mask on, he was covered. Most of your gangs, most of the gangs in Los Angeles that we know of, right? That we know of, they're criminal organizations that solely rely on making money. Now, if you have a bunch of fucking woke brats out in your front yard tearing up the CVS, there's an opportunity there to make some money because those woke kids are going to buy your weed, buy your whatever it is you're selling. But you're also not going to make a lot of money. Eventually it's going to be the criminal enterprise that's going to come together and be like, shit's over. Especially if they put Marines on the streets. Because if they put Marines on the streets and I'm gonna execute my high risk warrants, I'm like, oh shit, I don't have to fucking stand out there anymore. I got free reign of the town. I'm gonna execute my high risk warrants. Am I picking up that fucking dumbass kid that just threw a rock through a window at CVS? Or am I going after real criminals? I'm going after real criminals. And I'm pulling your guys off the street every day. And if I'm pulling your guys off the street every day, what are you going to do? You're going to be like, hey, motherfuckers, I'm going to start killing you fools if you don't go home because I'm losing my crew. So, yeah, the Marines on the street, it has the capability to escalate, but it also has the capability of de-escalating really quick because all those people want to make money.
You want to talk about the gold?
No, I mean, gold. Kids in the room.
Where was it?
The gold was in a Middle Eastern. It was two Middle Eastern. It was maybe like a Saudi country and maybe an Emirate country, and the CIA wanted these heavy hitters to go and secure this gold and bring it back, and they ended up basically it was no different than the thing that happened with
Ice Cube.
Yeah, they basically were able to do everything that they needed to do to secure the gold, get it on the airfield, and once it was on the airfield ready to go back home, that's when the fucking the balloon rolled up and they came out and they're like, "What are you doing?" We're like, "You know where this gold came from. We're taking it back." And they're like, "No, you ain't." And so they got arrested and they were in the pokey for a little bit, but then they all got released because it's a black eye a little bit. So they all got released.
And you knew these guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew a couple of them. This is a couple years ago. They contacted me and wanted me to go with them. I'm like, I'm not going to the motherfucking desert. Fuck that place. I don't care how many fake gold coins you think you're gonna get. And it was that, and when it was relayed to me, it was a sure thing. Like it was.
This is a CIA operation. Come to find out they're not working for the CIA.
Come to find out they're not working for the CIA. They're working for a conglomerate.
Some other.
Yeah.
They didn't have real stickers on the truck. They had magnets.
And he was like I liked the guy. I liked the guy, and he was laying it out as it's a sure thing. And I'm like, there's no fucking such thing. There's no such thing as this sure thing, especially when they're hiring guns. If they're hiring people with guns, it's not a sure thing. That's why they're hiring guns. I go, you're gonna get rolled up somewhere. Either you're gonna get rolled up either on the front end or you're gonna get rolled up on the back end. And then the people that you don't even know that are in the equation are the ones that are going to end up with the gold. So, yeah. There's no such thing as a sure thing.
All right. What episode was that?
Oh,
121.
125.
Pulling the Thread Podcast, episode 121. We'll see you guys next week. If you like these and you're hearing it and it seems like it's current, that's because you're a member. A membership is $10. If you're hearing this and you're like, man, this happened a couple months ago, that's because you're not a member, and it comes out to the public as not a member. We also have a Patreon, SOE Tactical Gear. That's where we're heading now. Patreon members and YouTube members ask questions, and we build a video around the questions you answer, similar to this one, but based solely off the questions asked by the members. So we're going to go record that right now, We will see you guys next week.
Hop